Hello, it's me, Danyell Carmelita, your favorite tarot reader and astrologer. Let's recap the presidential debate, but we're going to do it through the lens of astrology.
And have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan.
She believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. A shortage of homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children. And
we have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher. She has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy, but if she ever got elected, she'd change it. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say.
I said you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
See, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation.
I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes. Your career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people.
First of all, I want to say, before I really get into this, that this is a non-biased video. If you think I am voting for Trump or Kamala, you are 100% wrong. I do not care about the Bloods and the Crips, but I do want to inform you as people are really into these videos, so that is really why I'm doing this. I did a video earlier recently about the predictions of the debate and how it would go. Mercury was post-shadow phase retrograding, and it actually ends today as I'm filming this, so there was some residual feelings of Mercury retrograding in the sign Virgo. And when you're dealing with Virgo, you're dealing with factual evidence, you're dealing with efficiency, also communication, some residual effects. And because we have that, efficiency and fact-checking may have been a little bit biased. From what I understand and from watching it, the moderators were doing fact-checking in real time, and there were more fact-checking on Trump, and I don't think they even did any fact-checking with Kamala. Kamala did say a lot of false statements, as did Trump, but she was not questioned. For example, she gave false statements on his perspective on IVF, his dealings with the Nazi, and to be very clear, they are both in support of Israel, and that when he was president, unemployment was higher than the Great Depression. I mean, the fact check on that, I'm sure it's wrong. Also, he was dealing with COVID. She was allowed to not really answer questions, while Trump, if he was not very yes or no on a question, they would go back to him and say, answer the question, or you didn't answer the question. And we didn't really get that with Kamala, and she did not answer a lot of questions. Now, I do want to say that I do believe that all politicians are liars. They have a lot of 12th house placements or Pisces energy, and there are a lot of secrets when you have that. Also, I want to say that as this debate was happening, Neptune was retrograding. Neptune is retrograding in the sign Pisces. And if you didn't know what that means, that just means a lot of deceptions, a lot of lies, a lot of secrets. And that also plays a big part with media, and this is a form of media that we are watching. I do want to point out too that Venus is in the sign Libra, and it's at 15 degrees. 15 degrees is a critical degree, 0, 15, and 29. 15 means like halfway mark, and it's interesting that it's in Libra, which is all about the scales and balancing and harmony. So there is a critical energy for its harmony and fairness. And when you have it at the critical degree, someone may not have been getting the fairness that they should.
Now let's talk about Kamala and her chart and break it down.
Mercury in the sign Virgo was opposing her MC in the sign Pisces. And that can make her feel a little insecure, be very evasive in her answers, making it obvious that she does not have the experience in this, being on stage like this and debating. She got better as she kept going on with the debate. I want to say too, when Mercury is dealing with water signs, especially Pisces, which it is opposing her MC in the sign Pisces. And the MC is her stage, how she comes across to the public. It's her goals, it's her career. And Pisces is a very non-linear kind of way of thinking and communicating. So she can come off very evasive and very vague and talk in abstract ways and not being very straightforward. And she wasn't straightforward with a lot of answers. Well, a lot of questions. She didn't even answer them. And that Mercury in that post-shadow retrograde phase make indirect communication. Also, Pisces is a mutable sign. So if you notice during the debate, there was a lot of changing of her ideas. She used to believe one thing back in the day, and now she believes in another thing. I was totally taken back that she is for gun rights, and as a gun owner, I would never think a Democrat would say that, but I would never think a Republican would say that they're for abortions as well. So that was interesting. But she did also change her mind about fracking, and I think she lied about that, saying that she always believed in fracking. The sun in Virgo in her 4th house was conjunct Pluto, Uranus, and Venus in her 4th house in the sign Virgo. So from this, you can get that she's going to have a lot of support, a lot of power, maybe good or bad, because conjunctions are good and bad. But, you know, with Venus being there, this was actually good. She had more control in organizing her thoughts over Trump. She also was really good at strategically derailing Trump from his messages. She was discussing the crowd size and how people would leave his rallies because they were extremely bored. She even brought up him being a convicted felon and his court cases. Venus conjunct her sun immediately after the debate. Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala, and Venus represents support, and she definitely got the support. The sun was shining on that. I also want to say the sun being like her ego and how she comes across. She came off very happy compared to Trump, and that's because Trump had that squaring of the moon. So the Venus could make her come a little bit more happier. Jupiter is also conjunct her ascendant, which is also how you can come across, and that also kind of makes her happier. I think that's why there's so many videos of her laughing. She's probably like that naturally, but throughout this campaign, just a lot of joyful happiness is what you get for her persona. Now, the sun being conjunct her Uranus is expected unexpected. I was totally taken back of how good she was in this debate. I'm going to be very honest. Also, Mercury was conjunct her IC, and her discussing abortions and her mom and her past, which I discussed in a prediction video, it all makes sense. Whenever there is a debate, I do look at the open enemies, and her open enemies, the moon was placed in that house, which represents Trump, and Trump was insecure during this whole debate. And to me, that would represent insecurity and losing in a debate. I want to say also there was just a discussion of her image, and Jupiter is on top of her ascendant. So there's going to be a discussion of how she comes across, her race, her being a female, whatever the image is that she is portraying. And Trump did answer it, but it was a little confusing, hence the Mars 12th house for him. But she did not address it at all. And again, that is that Mercury opposing her MC. And also to her having Mercury in the 4th house and her discussing all the things about home and mom and abortions and families and moms and USA all makes sense. But also she would look in the camera and connect to the people at home because she knew she was trying to get people at home. All that relates to that Mercury in that 4th house.
Okay, so let's talk about Donald Trump and let's look at his chart.
Okay, again, remember Mercury is retrograding, so we have that little icky feeling still. So he's not efficient. Communication is not working to his best, okay? Not even organizing his thoughts and what he's going to say. Now, Trump not being prepared could be a little bit about that, but I'm thinking it's more about Pluto retrograding in the sign Capricorn. It is in the 6th house. 6th house is how we prepare things. It's being organized, and it's retrograding in his house, in his planet of power. Mars is also in his 12th house and is conjunct his Mercury in that 12th house. 12th house energy is also very confusing and lost in a sauce. He could be restless, impatient, impulsive actions. He already has that already, but it's worse than ever now. He probably was rushing and not planning this thoroughly as he should. Now, also there is aspects to Uranus, and there's sudden changes, disruptions, he had all that coming for him. While he was trying to answer questions, you see he had disruptions, and that is because of that aspect. It also could be dealing with scattered and feeling unfocused as well. And Uranus is conjunct his MC. So like Kamala, her MC is going to be opposing Mercury. Both of these conjunctions can make some confusion. For example, him talking about Haitians eating animals. He didn't explain himself at all. It was more for the Trump supporters or people who already understand everything he's saying. He also mentioned Colorado, Aurora, Colorado, like 4 times. And if you don't know what that means, then you're lost in the sauce again. And that is all that 12th house energy. He mentioned policy a lot. That is that Mercury in the sign Virgo, policy and structure and rules. They asked him about healthcare. That again is about Mercury in the sign Virgo. But remember his Mercury, which is the ruler of Virgo, is in that 12th house on top of that Mars. And he didn't really have a plan for healthcare. He also some say he threw his VP under the bus, which is also that Venus in Libra, which is also in 15 degrees. So it's not really balanced. And the partnership is like, he says something positive towards the end of the answer, but kind of not agreeing eye to eye on the same answer. Okay, so the moon is transiting in his 5th house. That's leadership. The moon does represent, for me, insecurity, and there was insecurity in his leadership. 5th house is also with gambling, and here he is losing the pool. I didn't even know they bet on these things, so now I'm going to be looking at that. But here we go with the last big aspect is that Pluto, which is supposed to give him energy to prepare for things, opposing his support. So he definitely didn't look like he was prepared at all. So who's going to support him when you're not being prepared? Also, I want to say that Mercury is in his 2nd house, so there is a lot of discussions of what he values, and he mentioned fracking several times. That's clearly something he values, immigration and building that wall, and of course, the economy, because that 2nd house represents finances, stocks, economy, money. Of course, we all value that. So that was the main themes, and I discussed that in my prediction video. So that is my recap astrologically about the political debates. Let me know your thoughts and what you think. Now in my prediction video, I pulled 2 cards and one for Kamala. And the card that I pulled for Kamala was the 4 of Pentacles. And the cards they never lie, okay? She was holding on for her control, keeping her cards close to her chest, reluctant of being relaxed and comfortable, focused on being conservative and secure, and maybe even but having a seriousness about her power and holding on to her power. Also a fear of being vulnerable. Yes. For Trump, I pulled the Knight of Wands, and he was very bold, and he even discussed how he fires people. He doesn't have a fear about firing people. Very impulsive. Just the debating style was a little bit more aggressive. Maybe not a little. He was just more aggressive, okay? So, yeah, very risk-taking and being very spontaneous and also controlling a little. Yeah, okay. So I think the cards are so accurate, by the way. If you want more, of course, I always have more. I have a whole playlist on politicians and political issues and it connecting to astrology. So go ahead and check out that playlist. And if you want a reading for yourself, of course, I can happily oblige. So click the link in the bio. I will see you guys next time. Bye.